यो महत्त्वपूर्ण बैठकले छलफलका साथै संवादमा छलफल भएका विषयहरू साथै प्रतिबद्धताहरूलाई कार्यान्वयनमा हामी सबैको सहकार्य र सहयोग रहनेछ भन्ने मैले विश्वास लिएको छु। धन्यवाद। नमस्कार।
Nepal stand ready to lead, host and collaborate for the safer and the more resilient HKH. I'm confident that our cooperation will continue in advancing the implementation of the outcome and commitments made during this roundtable and overall in the Sagarmatha Sambaad. Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. And unfortunately, Honourable Minister has a very tight schedule and will depart from us. Let's just give him a round of applause. Thank you. So let me now invite Honourable Minister Limpo Jem Shering from the Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources in Bhutan to deliver remarks. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much. Your height depends on the mic sizes, so that's why you keep on adjusting. Very, very good afternoon to everyone, particularly the Minister for Environment and Natural Forestry Department, Government of Nepal, for inviting us. So we are very happy that we are together in the same family. So now today, the very important subject that lies in front of everyone from the Hindu Kush family. Yes, we are also now from the Himalayas, where we have totally depending on the snow and then hydropower. Once upon a time, as a young engineer working in hydropower, so we enjoy. We never thought that there will be problem with the water from the Himalayas. So we expected all around it will be the same. But then today, I think we realize that having gone simply for just believing the nature as it is, so not realizing the damages and other things happening to the thing. So today we see that the hydropower during the winter time, that is the lean season, so we are not having a sufficient water to generate what we have designed for. So that's why that is all due to the, it's a new subject. We never thought there will be some subject called global warming and then climate change. That we never expected. But now today this is the reality which is coming in, and then we are seeing that glacier melting is one of the biggest points whereby, so during winter times. So I think just look into our own status also, that we always went for a run of the river scheme for designing a hydropower, never thinking that the river will dim down during the winters. But then now today we have to think aloud, thinking for reservoirs to come into, whereby we need to store the water. And of course, global warming has really created lots of problems to the glacier, whereby I think Nepal is one, whereby we believe into the highest mountain in the world, and also see like all the Himalayas within, and then we could see all covered with the snow. But then this must be, see, like we have to be really serious, not only Nepal, but then every one of us who are tied up with the Himalayan region. We need to be very cautious about this one, because it may die down one day. So before it's too late, all of us, I think particularly the Hindu Kush Himalaya region, we need to get together and then strive for just for these things not to happen, such sort of thing. So whereby in Bhutan, now particularly with the farsightedness of our fourth king, so who has designed, saying that 1974, when he was crowned as the fourth king of Bhutan, as a 17-year-old prince, so he has designed, said that, okay, like I believe into GNH, so that's gross national happiness, of course, with which, so one of the pillars, that time itself, he is set into saying that environment is the most important part. So we got to take care of the environment, and the country should have 60% of the forest coverage. So that even our own people laughed that time, saying that, okay, the country is too small, again 60% covered with the forest. But then today, we are very proud to claim that we have 69% forest coverage. And on to that one, now hydropowers and everything going well. But there's a big but. So see that if this sort of global warming and climate change just keeps on going, so I think it's all dangerous. So for which remedial measures, now particularly Hindu Kush, Himalaya, I think we got to get into the remedial measures of that one is how to protect the glacier on the mountain. So that's very important. Now see like glacier lake outbursts, even see like till the mid 2000, we have never seen such sort of outbursts into. But then now we had 2 times of glacier outbursts, due to which I think lots of Himalayas in the mountain, rather than totally being snow-capped, so partially it dips down. So that's why we are a little worried about that one also. So I think this is the right firm where I think Nepal, the birthplace of Lord Buddha, has come into the active portion whereby we are all called to look into such sort of things. So I think this is the right firm where we have to look into for the saving of such that required mountains. So I think not only Hindu Kush, but then all Himalayan ranges whereby we got to look into seriously, because we have snow, we have water, and all the people who are living down below the Himalayas depend on the Himalaya for the drinking water purpose than for everything. So now I think glacier lake outburst has really created problem whereby we have seen lots of damages caused because of that thing. So now I think my sincere request to each and every one within the HKH region is to come forward, and then we have to really look into the position whereby how to save the mountains, how to keep alive our glaciers. So for which, yes, Bhutan is trying our best to have lots of forestry plantation work, then even that early warning scheme for the humanity, then other things we are planning. But then this is small country with small resources, so we require the support of those, and then due to which we are also happy to mention once again that COP29 has designated Bhutan as a carbon negative country, for which we are also already aligned with the Singapore government for having the implementation assessment, so all these things. So I think things are going well, but still we have to look forward for support, and then hope everyone will come together for this one. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. And now it's my pleasure to invite Ms. Dinara Kemalova, who is the Special Representative from the President of the Kyrgyz Republic on the Mountain Agenda. So welcome.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency, Minister for Energy and Natural Resources of Bhutan, Mr. Lompo Gyam Tsaring, Dr. Pema Gyamsha, Director General of ICIMOD, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to congratulate the government of Nepal for the successful holding this global event and express my deeply gratitude for warm hospitality. The Hindu Kush Himalaya region should be proud of having ICIMOD, because ICIMOD is one of the successful mechanisms for expanding and deepening regional cooperation on our mountain agenda and demonstrating solidarity. Last year, we collaborated closely with ICIMOD, Nepal and Bhutan and other countries because we tried to promote dialogue on mountains and climate change in the framework of UNFCCC and also Convention on Biodiversity. And we also organized and supported each other in having side events in the framework of UNFCCC and CBD. And likewise, Nepal and Bhutan, the mountains of Kyrgyzstan provide essential ecosystem services, including freshwater sources, not only to Kyrgyzstan people, but also to downstream countries of Central Asia and China with energy resources, biodiversity, and cultural heritage. Their preservation is vital for reaching sustainable development goals. The mountains of Kyrgyzstan, also called as a water tower for the entire Central Asia region. Unfortunately, the recent studies show that Kyrgyzstan glaciers are retreating in the alarming rate and faster than in many other regions of the world. Over the past 50-60 years, Kyrgyzstan glaciers area has decreased by 16%. And this poses a significant threat to water supply, agriculture, and ecosystems of whole Central Asian inhabitants. And the same situation we could see also in Hindu Kush Himalayas, in America, in Europe. And in this regard, the Kyrgyz Republic initiated and implements the 5 years of action for the development of mountain regions for 2023 and 2027, endorsed by United Nations General Assembly resolution. Our roadmap on 5 years of action for sustainable mountain development emphasizes global level of activity as well as regional cooperation on biodiversity and glaciers preservation, research and monitoring, integrated water resource management, green energy development and energy efficiency. And we do cooperation through these different regional projects and institutions. 5 years of action on the global level, it is an international call to stronger cooperation, knowledge exchange, and investing to the resilience of mountain communities and ecosystems. And just last month in April, we hosted a global mountain dialogue for sustainable development in Bishkek with participation of all continents, Asia, Europe, Africa, America, and Australia. And one of the sessions in our April conference, which held in Bishkek, was dedicated to regional cooperation lessons from Europe, from Latin America, from Kurdistan, Asia, which was presented by ICIMOD, Africa, and Central Asia with CAREC. And we can learn from each other and share with experience and knowledge, as well as collaboration in global level. And even in our national roadmap, we have a special paragraph which dedicated to the cooperation with ICIMOD on the issues of protection of environment in Pamir and Tinshan area. So we are ready to work with ICIMOD, with our partners. And on the global level also, in order to continue our global mountain dialogue and mainstreaming our mountain agenda and climate change, we invite you to participate in Mountain International Conference next spring in New York. We are planning to have in the United Nations headquarters, which will be followed by second Global Mountain Summit in Bishkek, capital of Kyrgyzstan, in 2027. Isimot and Hindu Kush Himalayan region could also contribute into these important events by active participation. So we hope you will be join and contribute in turning our shared concerns into collective solutions. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nora, and I think highlighting that importance of all of the cross-learning that is so important across the regions. Now let me invite Dr. Pema Jamsho, who's the Director General of ISIMOD, who will deliver a keynote, Uniting for Action, Regional Cooperation to Tackle Climate and Environmental Crisis in the Hindu Kush Himalaya region. Over to you, Pema.
Thank you very much, Excellency Limbu Gemsring, Honorable Vice Chair, National Planning Commission of Nepal, Honorable Secretary, Ministry of Energy and Forest Resources, Excellency Dinara, Ambassador from Kyrgyzstan. Good afternoon. And in the interest of time, I'm going to skip through my slides very quickly so that we leave enough time for our distinguished panelists. And I would like to recognize the presence of highly respected former development, His Excellency Shyam Saran. And also we have with us many other distinguished panels. And now I don't want to go through all the names because I think our moderator would be introducing them later. So let me quickly go through my slides, and I'm going to skip most of them because this is, many of them you would have heard already, you would have already seen the slides in the other sessions. So I'm not going to repeat all that. Okay, can you move the slides? Okay, got it. Okay. Yeah, so good, thank you. Right, why the Hindu Kush Himalayas? Why the mountains? Now I just want to stress two facts here. We have small mountainous, fully mountainous countries like Bhutan and Nepal, but we have also large countries with significant areas under mountains. And that is the point that I would like to make, that we need to work with our larger countries to emphasize the importance of mountains and the ecosystems that they provide to the other areas, to the coastal areas, to the plains. That the ecosystem services that the mountain provides is important for the food security, water security, energy security of billions of people living downstream. Now this is how it looks like, the Hindu Kush Himalayas. I think important point to remember is that outside of the poles, we have the largest mass of ice, something like 54,000 glaciers covering over 60,000 square kilometers. That is huge. Now it's a global asset. So what happens here matters elsewhere. Imagine if we have, millions of climate refugees in, another 30, 40 years' time. Where would they go? Where would they end up? Would the other countries welcome us still? I don't think they will keep on welcoming our people. So we need to be prepared, and the global community need to be prepared so that they do whatever they can to keep us here. That means investment here to keep us here in our own region. Now, I've already mentioned that yesterday. This is a reality that everybody acknowledges, that triple planetary crisis. But in our own, in our region, we also need to be very, very mindful now, or conscious about the fact that many of our youth are migrating outside, and that's a serious problem. And that's an indication that we are not doing enough. We are not creating the kind of conditions for them to have employment, to earn income here. So we need to give much more attention to the out-migration of our human resources. I will not go through this. The fact is that we all know that now the melting is taking place much faster, warming is taking place much faster. It's an acknowledged fact. right? And this has also seen many times. 80% of our glaciers would disappear by the turn of the century if we don't do anything. So that is, and the melting, of course, 65 times, even our latest assessment shows that the melting rate is faster by 65% in the last decade compared to the previous decades. The climate finance need, I think we don't need to go through the figures. It's very obvious we need a lot of investment here. And this is our analysis of what the region needs. Disaster risk is increasing, as we all know. And the fact that we should keep in our mind is that out of 200 potentially dangerous glacial lakes, we have only 5 with permanent monitoring stations. That is very, very serious. Land degradation, of course, we can't blame everything on climate change. We have, knowingly that there would be a landslide, we still go on constructing roads without proper planning, without proper equipment, without proper engineering. So that is precipitating a lot of these kind of scenarios, landslides. And of course, something that we all need to be worried about, especially those of us living in the Indo-Gangetic plains and Himalayan foothills, the quality of air. I think we are just simply breathing, poison. A few weeks ago, the PM 2.5 is about even sometimes touching 500, micrograms, per cubic meter, and which is very, very high. And then, of course, we have to be mindful of the biodiversity. Some of these species are already extinct, others are on the way to extinction, and we need to look at how we can save those, particularly the amphibian species. Of course, as I mentioned, we need to be also very careful of where we construct our settlements, our infrastructure like schools or hospitals or airports. Because many of the disasters, we all know that disasters don't necessarily kill, but it is the error, the human error, our judgment in our area. We keep on building on the river banks and areas which are highly exposed and vulnerable, and then we blame on floods for all the damages and loss. Okay, so still we have a huge knowledge gap as far as our knowledge about cryosphere is concerned, particularly in terms of snowfall, now more about snowfall patterns and also the form of precipitation and so on. So we need to understand much more, and then of course I will not repeat the first two, but here permafrost is something that we all need to be very much worried about. In the southern slopes of the Himalayas in particular, when the ice underground thaws, we are going to have huge landslides. The whole slope is going to fail and then block the riverways, and which in turn will cause cascading disasters, so that we have heard earlier. Scenes like this are going to be more and more familiar. This is the Thami Glof last year, which Nepal experienced, and also in 2023 October we had similar in Sikkim in India. So globes events are only going to increase. And of course, now I would think that the snow leopard would be a very good indicator of climate change, of global warming, because what is happening is species like the tigers are moving up into the habitat of snow leopards. And the snow leopard's habitat is getting smaller and smaller, and they will be pushed to what they call the vertical edge and would disappear. And I think this is something that we need to look at: the snow line, the tree line, how far they are receding, and where would the snow leopards go if you don't have transboundary cooperation and free movement for such species. So even when we have the scientific evidence, when the science is clear, very often we do not get the kind of impetus, the kind of traction, because we sometimes lack the political commitment. So ICIMOD is also engaged in organizing this science policy dialogue, and now we are also including finance, so we call it science policy finance dialogue. Well, all these issues are transboundary. We need transboundary cooperation, and that is the reason why we organize this event here. I'm going to rush through now. ICIMOD, I want everybody knows that this also I will rush through, but I think this is important, that ICIMOD is not a research organization per se, nor a development organization. It operates at the interface between science, policy, and practice. And then I'm sure the panelists would touch on this later, but we have made a good start based on the Himalayan assessment report. The call to action has been formulated, and then the first ministers meeting in 2020 came out with a declaration to strengthen cooperation. And 6 urgent actions, which I think one of the panelists would touch later. I won't repeat it, but basically we need to have cooperation in exchanging information, in addressing many of the issues like climate change impacts, biodiversity conservation, and all that. So we really need to build the platforms, the mechanisms, institutional mechanisms at every level to strengthen our cooperation. After 2020, the ministerial declaration, one of the key recommendations was to set up a task force, high-level task force, to look at an institutional mechanism along the lines of Alpine Convention, which we will hear later on, Elenka, or the Arctic Council, and see which kind of mechanism would work for our region, given the sensitivities, the geopolitical equations here. And this task force came up with a recommendation, and we are in the process of actually getting this recommendation presented to the government. So I will not repeat this. Again, this is just an example on air quality, how we are moving. So we have a roadmap, then we have a series of science policy dialogues, and moving into the 3rd dialogue now. So we also need to have different tracks. So one of the tracks that we have pursued is now getting the parliamentarians involved. So they are the legislators and they are the closest to the constituency. So getting them on board is also very, very important, and we have started that. Again, influencing the global processes, ICMOD is actively participating in the climate COP processes as well as biodiversity processes. And these are some examples of COP29 engagement. And we also actively, promote what we are demonstrating at the Living Mountain Lab in Godavari. So I would like to end here because I think it's taking too much time. We are on time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pema, for that very informative overview. So I'm going to move on now to a panel discussion where we have 3 experts, and if I can invite them as I introduce them to come up and take a seat. Professor Dr. Shiva Raj Adhikari, who's the Vice Chair, National Planning Commission, Government of Nepal currently, but Dr. Adhikari has held key academic roles at Tribhuvan here in Nepal, Chulalongkorn in Thailand, with the University of South Carolina, and is widely published. And then, thank you. And our second speaker is Ambassador Shayant Surin, a career diplomat and 26th Foreign Secretary of India, who served in key postings including Ambassador to Myanmar, Indonesia and Nepal. And he was the Prime Minister's Special Envoy for Climate and chaired the National Security Advisory Board post-retirement. And currently he's President of India's International Centre, and he's also an acclaimed author and recipient of Japan's Order of the Rising Sun. And our third speaker is Miss Alenka Smerkol. She's the first woman to serve as the Secretary of the General of the Alpine Secretary General of the Alpine Convention, and she's been in that role since 2019. Alenka is a seasoned leader in international banking and governance. She was Slovenia's Minister for Development, Strategic Projects and Cohesion for 2014 to 2018. So thank you very much, and I may take a seat beside you. Just to check, do we have the microphones all prepared? Yep. Okay, oh, thank you very much, Dr. Pema. Multiple roles. Yes. We've heard from both honourable ministers. We've heard also from the representative from the Kyrgyz Republic, and this question of, all of the challenges that we are facing in the mountain regions and the urgency. We've also talked about the importance of regional collaboration. So, Dr. Adhikari, maybe I can begin with you. and ask you what you see as the key opportunities for fostering regional cooperation to address these challenges, and what do you think are the strategic actions that are needed to be taken now to further strengthen this action to bringing together this regional cooperation?
Thank you for your very important questions. Yeah, we already know about there are so many problems, but we need to do to get opportunities. It should be transferred to the opportunity. Otherwise, if we do not think, if we are not doing anything, it will not be transferred for the opportunity. For the opportunity, there are certain things we need to do. First, we need to recognize this is the global problem, as well as the regional problem. Yeah, that means regional public goods should be identified, and then we can work together and we can identify the problem. Second thing is we need to do for the holistic approach. Integrated approach is most important to open the other avenues. And at the same time, we need to do some research and innovation is most important. For that purpose, there are certain strategic actions we need to strengthen, and first implementing collaboration among the countries. Yeah, not only this region, maybe some other region also. We need to do some research work and collaborative work. At the same time, voice we need to raise, and advocacy is most important, because without advocacy, without understanding the issue, maybe our work or our strategy may not be sufficient. At the same time, we need to build the capacity, strengthen the capacity. Capacity is most important. We know what are the problems, but how to do it is so important and so difficult to identify the how type of answer, how question and its answer. And at the same time, political and financial mechanism or coordination is most important. Without financing, sufficiency of financing, and without the collaboration with the government and political, it may be difficult to implement. At the same time, integrated monitoring and data science is the most important. We need to produce new evidence, innovative evidence, because always there are so many things we need to understand. Previously, we have some certain type of information, but they are not sufficient at this time. And we need to think about the single country, single reports may not be sufficient. We need to work together. We need to identify the holistic approach. These are the actions we need to do to solve this type of problem. But we need to do continuously. One time of report may not be sufficient. That's all from my side.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shiva. And now I'm going to ask the same question to Ambassador Saran on this whole question of the fostering regional cooperation.
Thank you very much. And at the outset, I would like to thank the government of Nepal and ICIMOD for this very important initiative which has been taken. And this is, I think, perhaps in what we have today as a very divided and polarized world, the fact that you have been able to convene delegates from such a large number of countries, I think is testimony to your convening powers. So congratulations to both organizations. Let me just have maybe a personal perspective. As a diplomat, I have often had to navigate very have any chance of being able to really deal with this challenge. So how do we go about this mobilization? Particularly in a world, as I said, and our own region, that polarized communities beset with interstate tensions and even armed conflict. The first order of business is to attempt a mindset change, as I said. It is to treat ecological assets such as our mountains, our rivers, forests and lakes as living entities, not inanimate and insensate objects. They should not be treated as pieces of property, objects of competitive rivalry, to be competitively divided amongst sovereign states. Every division of natural assets results in diminishing value for each entitled and stakeholder. But collaborative preservation and the frugal sharing of these ecological services, which are provided by these ecological and natural assets, increases that value for every stakeholder. Division is what reduces the value for each one of us. Collaboration is what increases the value for all of us. I think that's very important. Secondly, interstate tensions and conflicts in our region are an unfortunate reality. It is not our place to try and resolve these tensions. We can't. However, having been involved in dealing with such tensions during my career as a diplomat, I can say without any exaggeration that the catastrophe which awaits us due to climate change and environmental degradation would be of an order of magnitude far beyond what interstate conflict or war may perpetrate for our future generation, our present and future generations. So that tragic future will be, something which are the current geopolitical rivalries in our region and throughout our fragile planet is making such rivalries absolutely irrelevant. I mean, if you look at the catastrophe which we face, the present tensions and rivalries really seem to be quite irrelevant, really, to our future. So that is, I think, a message which is something which is irrefutable.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Saran. Those really interesting considerations, and particularly your perspective on the risk of that much greater future conflict. So I'll come back to you both a little later, but we're pleased to have Ms. Alenka. And so the Alpine Convention has been in place, and I think there's a lot of valuable lessons that can be shared from the successes you've had, but also the challenges that you've faced. And if you would share with some of those with us.
Thank you. I would also just start with congratulations to the government of Nepal, but also ICIMOD for this Sagarmatha dialogue. I think that I would not like to repeat myself, but I wanted to say more or less the same thing, that in the crisis that we are facing, especially in international cooperation, where we are being more and more polarized, this is a great basis, because I do believe that only with dialogue we can find solutions. So I'm very honored and happy to be here. Now to the Alpine Convention. Some of you might know Alpine Convention dates back to 1991, so we are a bit more than 30 years old, and it commits 8 European countries from the European Alps, and later also the European Union itself joined to the sustainable development and protection of the Alps. And on the one hand, we are a legal instrument. We are we are a treaty under international law. But much more, and I think this is what the message, or the success message, at least for me, is the most important one, and I would really like to share, is that what makes us special is that cross-border cooperation lies at the heart of whatever we do. And I think that this is the why. Why is this important? Because as we heard and as we hear throughout the days right now, is that of course the challenges we face, which are critical, do not stop at borders. And here again, I have to really congratulate of how you presented the challenges, and how, even though if we live in a very challenging environment, and if you face different kinds of conflicts in the region, the challenges are far bigger. We do live the crisis, which has a sort of an end in the end, which is the end of humanity. And I think this is then when, as a politician, you try to take it from this perspective, everything else becomes much less important. And the examples we have is that for more than 30 years, even though also for us the times were very difficult, we learned somehow to cooperate in an integrated way for one mountain range, because this is the most important thing. If you want to have solutions, efficient solutions, they have to be they have to be integrated, they have to be holistic. And this is what no country alone can do. And if you share a mountain range, this is the most important thing. So you have to have a sort of a mechanism that connects the countries and gives a platform for cooperation. This is perhaps the most, or the message, or the success, and I think we can be proud to be a living proof that after 30 years we can still work together. The second thing, we also try to focus on very much, and I think that more and more we also succeed, is that we try to do that. We try to have in all our actions, in all our recommendations, an intersectoral cooperation. You have to understand that on the one hand, Alpine Convention is a political body, so it's we have the ministerial conferences, ministers take decisions, they make decisions or declarations, but they are all elaborated together. So ministerial decisions are always a final act of a lot of work. And the whole content, the ministers decide on the, let's say, really important topics that they ask different working groups within the convention to work on. And of course, each working group represents one big challenge. One is climate change, mitigation and adaptation. One is biodiversity loss. It's sustainable transport. It's natural hazards. It's all the challenges you also know here. So it's the same challenges we have to face. And then what happens is that in working groups, it's not just administrative levels from ministries that meet and gather from all contracting parties, but also municipalities, local levels, so different levels of administration. On the other hand, also researchers, and civil society. And together they're trying to tackle things, and together they're trying to develop solutions, and then try to make recommendations for the ministers. I think that this really is not just about trying to look at and find solutions together, because then also sometimes solutions are a better thing, but also this dialogue also means building bridges. And this, it's incredible how even if you see colleagues or experts coming from not just different countries, but from different, I don't know, spatial planning or strangely, and after discussion, and if you have one same objective to achieve, it works. So this is, I think, building bridges, building dialogue, and understanding that we need to build the relationship back to the nature. I think this is what we can share, and I think this is what we would like to share as our biggest successes. And I will return back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Alenka. And I think we've heard a common message on the need for holistic solutions from our panelists, but also this importance and the time that it will take to work together to build those relationships. So we've heard of the importance of the regional level, and maybe I'll come back to Dr. Shiva and ask you, so one is working at the regional level, but it's also the global influence, the policy decision-making, the being part of those global forums. So what would you see as some of the steps or the pathway that the regional grouping from the Hindu Kush Himalayas needs to take to get that global influence?
Thank you. Regional collaboration, regional coordination is most important. We need to think this type of problem is higher than the political problem, because political problem may be different, you can create differently. But this is the natural problem. That's why we need to think that way, because we need to create the different type of avenues as well. For that purpose, we need to improve our collaboration, for example, in the EC mode and some other regional collaboration. Also, we need to activate, and maybe we can design as well. Certain type of mechanism. Just we learn from the European experiences. Also, we need to develop this type of mechanism, but we need to commit it to implement that on first. Second, we need to develop the regional position as well, common voice, common understanding, common research and data we need to share with the global scenario as well. Then it will have the sufficient evidence, and then we can do something. And then scientific knowledge and knowledge collaboration is most important. Just before there is sharing, we need to establish some Himalayan universities consortium and some other maybe government to government, and maybe the institution to institution, maybe think tank to think tank, type of institution also we can establish, and then it will be helpful to develop the regional collaboration. At the same time, we need to think people to people and young people and society to society also most important. Not only government to government also. Sometimes your people to people relationship more stronger than the government. That's why we are seeing in the South Asia. That's why that is most important. At the same time, we need to build the capacity, and environmental diplomacy also important, because he also already mentioned about the diplomacy or all the issue. We need to think about this. At the same time, regional financial mechanism, maybe regional bank, regional issues, and these are also important for the financing purpose. That's why there are so many avenues and so many options we need to explore, and we need to talk about this, and we need to make a common understanding. That is most important. But problem is we are facing commonly actually, but understanding and intensity, maybe frequency may be different. That's why we need to think about this. Anyway, we need to get the solution for this. That is why to let us unite to solve this type of problem. There are definitely different avenue, different way we need to find out. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shiva. A lot of very constructive suggestions and work and at workable levels, with looking at each of the stakeholders and how we bring that cooperation together. Ambassador Saran, would you also like to share your views on building this collaboration and influence at the global level?
Let me make the point that just as we are facing challenges at the regional level, we are also today facing challenges at the global level. So there was a certain degree of hope and expectation when we had the Paris agreement in 2015. But I think if we are honest with ourselves, we have to acknowledge that that particular momentum which we all welcomed, that momentum has run out. And today we are facing actually a reversal in terms of global action on climate change. It's very depressing, but it is the reality. And also I think we have to recognize that in terms of the funding which is required for many of the climate action that we wish to take, that funding is also drying up. So whether it is in terms of technology transfer or financial flows, on both these, developing countries are actually being shortchanged. There is no other word for it. So how do we deal with this solution, with this problem? So regionally, I would say that one of the good things about our region is that some of the collaboration that we wish to have, take for example monitoring what is happening across the Hindu Kush Himalayas. Reference was made to the glacial lake outburst flood. His Excellency Environment Minister of Bhutan mentioned how this has become a huge challenge. Now, I know for a fact that we have in India for fairly long period of time, we have actually satellite imagery from across the Himalayas. We have fairly good monitoring system or early warning systems, for example, for GLOF. We are able to share this informally with Bhutan, with perhaps even with Nepal. But there is, I must confess that there is some resistance even to this kind of information being shared. Take for example the monsoons. All our countries in the region are impacted by the monsoons. And yet we are not able to share data directly with each other. The data goes to the WMO and then comes back to us. This is rather odd that we should be in this situation. India has today, right across its coastline, It has automatic weather stations linked to our satellites. We were able to get also these extended some time ago to the Bangladesh coast. And so this is information that is available on what is happening around in the oceans for everybody to share. So I think there has to be some way in which the political leadership in our countries can be, at least in terms of this very basic sharing of data and sharing of knowledge, can see an advantage to themselves. So whether we like it or not, I think we need to have some political education for our political leaders, because unless we are able to convince them to act on the basis of this challenge which we are facing, we are not going to get very far. Now, as I mentioned, the governments will respond to popular level sentiments, popular level kind of demands. So the mobilization that we can do of civil society, the kind of work that ICIMOD does, I think you do excellent work. I have seen what work you have done. It is not, widely shared in our region. And I think that is something that there is an underutilization of the resource that we have, the knowledge resource that we have. So is there some way in which perhaps at fora like this, we can try and devise ways in which this message, knowledge is there, how do we project that at the political level? Because rhetorically there is an acceptance in political leadership across our region. Yes, there is a climate change challenge and we need to do something about it. But it doesn't translate into actual action. So I think to bring that about, whatever front we can work on to put that political pressure on leadership, that is what will, I think, eventually lead to results. Don't forget, we are facing a challenge which is not a static challenge. The longer you take to address this challenge, the problem itself becomes bigger and bigger. It's not a static state kind of a... so at least that message needs to go through. If you don't act now, the situation is going to get worse day by day. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Surin. And I think that's a critical point. Not only is it a static challenge, but it is a new situation of a new future which will continue to change, and we're not arriving at a new future. It's going to be ongoing. So maybe, Ms. Alenka, I'll come back to you, and how any additional guidance you would want to share from the Alpine Convention with what you've heard here.
I think it's very difficult to live away from the region and then try to convey messages. I feel, I think I can only share what I truly believe in. I think that in the region you already have two great things that you can work on. One is, of course, the ICIMOD that for years and years has tried to build a networking platform, and it goes in all countries. But of course, their voice needs to be heard. And they are also now much more in voice. They did understand that not just science, but also recommendations for policy making are important. So that's the first link into the politics. The second thing is I was extremely happy when in 2020 the ministers of Hindu Kush Himalaya decided to establish the task force, high-level task force, with the objective to try and somehow define a regional mechanism for a political agreement. And of course, it's related to the biggest challenge that you're facing, which is climate change. And I think that the product of all this is the first step you need to take, but of course it is the most difficult one, because all countries would need to sign that they agree and that they have one objective together. In my view, if this is where I come to the fact that I don't want to preach, but I do believe that this is the right way to go, because it would allow you to look into the future and be forced to discuss, even though not about the conflicts, but about the crisis that you have to face together. So I think for the political part, this is the step to take. And if you then are to succeed in the end, even though, of course, we all understand that it's extremely, and it would be extremely difficult, I think that with how big Hindu Kush Himalaya region is, this would not be a solution just and that would bring benefits to the region, but basically to the whole planet. And I really see it global. All other mountain regions, we can be there. We have, I mean, we also are called waters of whatever. We have same challenges, but the amount or how I mean, the most important part, it's on you. It's I cannot say. I think it's 2 billion people, depending on what happens in the regions. I mean, this blows up your mind, and I just wish you courage to take the step and sign and agree on the mechanism that is already somehow prepared. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Alenka. So I am going to, unfortunately, there isn't time for questions for the panel, but what I'd like you to do is to give our three panelists a round of applause because we have representatives coming from the countries. So thank you very much, Dr. Shiva, Ambassador Saran, and Ms. Alenka, and I'll ask you to take your seats back. We have now representatives from the 4 countries. Yeah, come to the seats. Yeah. So if I can invite Mr. Ziaul Haq, the Director of the Department of Environment, Forest and Climate Change in Bangladesh, if you would like to come and take a seat. And also Mr. Sonan Tashi, Director Climate and Change Division from the Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources in Bhutan. Dr. Eklabaya Sharma, Strategic Advisor and Senior Fellow, the Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and the Environment in India. And Ms. Aisha Khan, Founder and Chief Executive, Civil Society Coalition for Climate Change and Mountain Glacier Protection Organization in Pakistan. So I will ask, you've heard from our ministers, you've heard from Ms. Dinara from Kyrgyz Republic, and then you've heard some very good views on the whole steps that need to be taken for this regional cooperation. So if I can begin by asking Mr. Haq if you would like to share your views and your responses based on what you've heard.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, colleagues and Excellencies, ministers and distinguished panelists. They are highly reputed panelists. We have heard from them. At the outset, let me highly congratulate the government of Nepal for organizing this wonderfully, this important event on the mountains, climate change, and the future of humanity. In fact, my honorable minister was very keen to participate in the dialogue, but she honorable has to leave this morning, so she actually conveyed her heartfelt congratulations to the ICIMOD colleagues for organizing this dialogue in a timely manner. In terms of what we have heard from the distinguished panelists, including honorable ministers, that this issue has been very prominent nowadays, and we have to address those issues in a rightful manner. And we feel from my side that Bangladesh is a growing population, nearly 170 to 180 million people living in the foothills of the Himalayan region, so Hindu Kush Himalayan region, and in terms of the services that is provided by the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, we are fully dependent on them in terms of our fresh water resources, our irrigation, our fisheries, and other economic activities. So we understand on the part of 170 or 180 million people, we understand the importance and significance of the ecological services and ecosystem services that have been provided by the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. And you know that the three most large, the river system, one of the largest river system in the world, the Ganges, Brahmaputra, and Meghna river basin, the huge waters are flowing through Bangladesh down to Bay of Bengal, and we are actually receiving a huge waters from the upstream as a lower riparian downstream communities. And it is almost more than 2 million square kilometers catchment area. The water is coming from the upstream, and we are receiving and we're acting as a huge ecological drain for the waters to flow through. And we feel that, as we have heard from the distinguished panelists, that we need to have some regional integration and collaboration. So we have to foster this regional integration collaboration to work together, and we have to we should try to harness the potential that we have at regional scale in terms of harnessing those potentials with mutual interest. We know that there are some issues that has to be resolved at political level, but the point we have heard from them that from the technical point of view, from scientific point of view, we have to present those information and data before the political masters. And this is the high time for the regional institutions to capture those information in a scientific manner, real-time basis. And I see the ICIMOD has been well placed to deliver these services for regional scale, and being one of the low-lying coastal communities, we have been confronting all types of climate hazards.
Okay, Mr. Huck, I'm
just
sorry,
one
we'll
point
have to
and
cut you
okay.
short if you don't mind. If I can move across to Mr. Tashi from Bhutan, and I mean, we've heard from multiple speakers across the last 2 days, the challenges, the need, the huge population. So that focus on how do we foster this regional cooperation?
Thank you. I can just want to join others thanking Nepal and ICIMOD for organizing and for inviting. I need about 30 seconds extra for my speaking slot because I've had to reorganize the thoughts because the questions.
Okay.
I had to listen to everyone. I'm trying to understand my own handwriting. But let me start this. I think when we begin to understand the climate change issues here also, and which Mr. Saran, Ambassador Saran, Secretary Saran pointed out, and I think Mr. Saran, I don't know whether you remember 20 years ago or 25 when I was a lot younger than what I am. I remember reading Mr. Saran's opinion piece, I don't know in which paper, talking about climate change and the negotiations going on, that putting speed brakes on the German Autobahn is a lifestyle emission which can be done and must be done. But for the rest of us, survival emissions is important. So I think this is very important in our cooperation in this region. We need to define what is required, right? Because and we are not asking for no speed limits on our highways. You know, what we are asking, what Mr. Saran articulated very well in that article, and Mr. Saran is still framed somewhere in my notes, you know, it's a very good article. So based on this, I think it's very important that we need to look beyond the national challenges, which the speakers before, the honorable ministers and secretaries and others have pointed out, about how do we deal with this transboundary climate risk and all. And how are these risks going to be spread, right? This is what we've been informed transforming. Yesterday we heard about Nepal's funeral for a glacier, and I just realized that even my own country did this. I mean, I found that a bit crazy, to be honest, when I heard about this, but then, again, one of the speakers mentioned that how we need to treat nature, natural assets as sentient beings, very Buddhist way of thinking. But so this is how I think, and I think that our response to all this risk will really depend on how, to a large degree, on the dynamics of what people, the financing available, and the resources and the trading and economic development of our own countries, right? Within the region, some of us are more south, some are south-south. I mean, just want to bring a new dimension to the different levels of development. It's no more the old and the new. Even within the south, they have countries, they are more north. And so this really brings us to how do we successfully manage all this and all. And for this, based on what the speakers before me have said and what I've been hearing the last 1.5 days, I look at it from this way. One, on the adaptation side, right? The transboundary adaptation measures that we'll all have to work on. I'll not get into the details. This has already been mentioned. Examples were GLOF, was flood management, and so on and so on. So we'll have to really see into how can we do this transformational adaptation, not just in the UNFCCC language of transformational adaptation, but really within our regions, and then the other aspect that we need to look is also into the mitigation of, again, transboundary mitigation. Good examples are actually between Nepal, Bhutan, and India in terms of the energy grid, right? We have mitigation takes place we have a host country, it's either Bhutan or Nepal. The mitigation takes place in India, and can we expand this across the region, right? And then you have got the SAC, Energy for All declaration and so on. And this really brings us to some of the institutions that, again, we've been hearing that we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We've got BIMSTEC. I mean, sorry for Isimod, but I was just looking at BIMSTEC's meeting after my minister met with the Secretary General. There were 7 areas of cooperation. Isimod has all these thematic groups. Like if you take the air pollution, the science policy dialogue that Isimod really supports, I think these are good forums on how we can really, within our region, I mean, without reinventing the wheel, use existing institutions, leverage on the resources we have right now, and then see what we can do with this. So this is where we can look into in how we can really deal with all these regional matters. Again, when you look at the broader, in line with what this panel is also about, and I think some of my senior esteemed colleagues touched upon a lot of the global negotiations, dialogue within us, and what we also need to be thing is even within us, right? And again, sorry for being not being biased, but
so I'm squeezed between Isimod over there and
Okay.
the need to let the others have their
so I think,
opportunity
this
to
is where
speak.
we have to also cooperate in the negotiation, right? For instance, the mountain issues keeps getting removed in the UNFCCC negotiations, and this is not what regional cooperation is about. So we have to make a concerted effort. Thank you.
No, and thank you. A lot of very concrete suggestions there. Dr. Sharma, from your perspective.
Thank you very much. Looking back, what has been done in this region is very, very important. So in the history of Isimod, for the first time, they were able to bring the first assessment, which was a very scientific assessment, the Hindu Kush Himalayan assessment, and that assessment has led to a call for regional action, which Dr. Pema was mentioning, and that was co-developed by the 8 countries, and that action led to the formation of the government signing the declaration and then forming this task force. So the process is on. The challenges come, but with the challenges there are opportunities. I think this is what I have to say very clearly as response to all people mentioned. Lots of challenges, but there are opportunities for an institution. See, Isimod has such a great convening power to bring all the countries together and work, and that has been Isimod's experience. And looking into the commitment, I think I was also asked to talk about the India's commitment. The minister himself on the first day very clearly said India is very committed to work in the regional context, regional forum, expand its experiences. To say what we have done after the regional call for action as a country. So I have to say it's very, very interesting. We have seen what is India's contribution to Hindu Kush Himalayan region. In terms of area, it is only 11%. But if you look at the population of India, of the in the HKS. It is 36%, most populated area in the region, 11% having 36% population. And in that context, very quick actions have been taken by government of India. First, of course, strengthening what has been agreed for National Mission on Sustaining Himalayan Ecosystems, which was already there in 2008, but it was further strengthened. Then we have another mission called National Mission on Himalayan Studies. More than $40 million has been put into research after this, and the work is coming and really putting research into policies as much as possible. So for that, the Niti Aayog, the think tank of India, in place of Planning Commission, we have Niti Aayog. And that Niti Aayog has come with 5 very concrete reports on springs, on tourism, on shifting cultivation, skills development, very much. And these reports are then being taken to the states. But on top of that, the forum for the Indian states. We have 9 states, 2 union territories, and 2 states having hill districts, West Bengal and Assam. They are part of the Indian Himalayan region. And you can imagine for that, Niti Aayog has come with a regional state forum. That is a forum chaired by this Niti Aayog, and the states are part of that. So what has been committed here in the regional forum is being translated by India on the ground very much in our level. And we have realized, because of the cooperation with ICIMOD, we have realized, see, 2 of the global biodiversity hotspots are in the Indian Himalayan region. And you can imagine 60% of its endemic species are in the Himalayan region, and if it is lost, then it is lost from the entire planet. So that is why the Indian Himalayan region is equally important. And finally, I would like to say water. See, if you look at India, such a big country, 65% of water of India is coming from the Himalaya. So you can imagine. And football, if you see, from ICIMOD perspective, if we look at all 8 countries and the 10 rivers, nearly 3 to 4 billion people live or have impact in terms of food security from the water coming from the Hindu-Kush Himalayan region. So if that happens, the entire world's food security is questionable.
Yeah, no,
so we need to work in this line.
Yeah, and I think another statistic to add to that is then all of the food that is being exported to the rest of the world from this region is another number we can include. So thank you very much, Dr. Sharma, and then I will ask Ms. Aisha Khan to give your perspective.
Yesterday, the Right Honorable Prime Minister of Nepal said he hoped that the dialogue will elevate to match the height of Sagarmatha. I'd like to add my own humble comment to his lofty statement. I think if we want to summit, then we have to persevere and we have to have patience. And we also have to understand that you need to face and overcome obstacles. But the most important thing is that we have to fight against forces of nature, and within that window of opportunity, we have to allow nature to provide us the opportunity to summit. I think those same principles apply when we engage in these dialogues over here, that we need patience and perseverance, and we need to overcome the obstacles to take the dialogue forward. If the mountains of South Asia were not snow-clad, we would not be having this conversation. So these are not just mountains that we're talking about over here. We're talking about water towers that feed rivers, that provide sustenance to over 2 billion people for their lives and livelihoods. Why do we need cross-border collaboration? To me, the answer is very clear. We are part of one landmass that is connected by land, air, and water. We have many countries that are part of this landmass with their own geographical territories and boundaries, but that doesn't stop the glacier from flowing to the ocean or ecosystems to cease to function when they reach the frontiers of any country. We have a geography that extends from the cryosphere to the coast. And we have a hydrological topography that dictates that we must collaborate. because every country in this region is an upper or lower riparian to another state. If the cryosphere collapses, the result will be chaos and it will destabilize the entire region. And we cannot afford that. The negative feedback loop of that is so terrible that I do not even want to go and contemplate that. So I'll talk about something more positive right now. This is the year of glacier preservation. So how can we leverage that to our advantage? I think one of the things that we can do at this dialogue is to pave the way for the enabling conditions that will allow us to host a regional COP at some point in the future. The other thing that we can do is to develop some kind of a strategy that will help us to lobby and pitch at COP30 from the regional platform to make the cryosphere part of the global stocktake. When we talk about mountains, I think there's a couple of things, since I also trek in mountain regions, so I have a great affinity with mountains and mountain countries. So when we talk about mountains and we talk about water, we have to understand what are the two elements that make them strong. Mountains are monuments of resilience, and water is able to maintain its flows because it's fluid and flexible. I think mountains only matter when they are part of a chain. And communities have greater strength to their voice when they connect and they network. So I think that tells me at least that when we talk about resilience, flexibility and resilience go hand in hand. We need to be strong like mountains, but we need to be fluid and flexible like water. Right now, the most important thing that we need to do is to worry about our ecological future. Nature is in distress, but it's not calling out for help. Nature is powerful, nature is strong, nature is reacting. And it will react in a very harsh and hostile manner that will probably perish us before we kill each other, fighting over territories or scarce resources. I think if nothing else that I say makes sense, we need to save our snow because our survival depends on it. And the last thing that I want to say here is a thank you to EC Mode for these dialogues. We do have a cold start for conflict, but what EC Mode is doing is preparing a cold start for collaboration. Because when we are ready to engage, they have all the documentation, all the strategies, all the research to help us to engage more rapidly without losing any time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And I think with that, if you can give a round of applause to our four country speakers, I think I would ask you to stay because there will be a photo. I am not going to attempt to summarize, but I think we've heard the emphasis on collaboration, the emphasis on bringing the politicians into the conversation, the importance of policy dialogue, the huge significance of data, science, the role that the think tanks, the scientific organizations in the region and beyond will play in all of this. We've heard about the need for leverage on all of the existing initiatives that we have. Aishim provided some really interesting words: patience, perseverance, the fluid and flexible nature of that we go forward. So I'm just going, before I call on our speaker for the vote of thanks, on behalf of the Asian Development Bank, I would just like to congratulate the government of Nepal and ICIMOD for the amazing work that they've done to bring such an interesting set of speakers and representatives to the Sagarmatha. We at ADB are really pleased to be able to step up some of our work on glaciers. We have an initiative here with Bhutan and Nepal already, the Bar HKH, and then in the Central West region we're involved with the Glaciers to Farms, and we certainly look forward to growing that as part of our regional public goods work. So personally, it's been an honor, and I'm going to now invite Honourable Secretary from the Ministry of Forests and Environment, Dr. Rajendra Mishra, to provide a vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable Ministers, VCs, and other academic and August gathering personalities. First of all, I would like to thank you for having this session organized by ICIMOD. It's very important session for all of us, and in this session we got a keynote speech, some notes from Honorable Minister and Excellencies, and panelists' views on different aspects of networks and global alliances, and some country notes from our respected persons on the desk. In this regard, first of all, I would like to thank Honorable Minister N. Bahadur Sai Thakuri, Minister of Forest and Environment, Nepal, for his opening remarks and valuable inputs. Similarly, I would like to thank His Excellency Limpo Jane Chering, Minister for Energy and Natural Resources, Bhutan. And similarly, I would like to thank Dinara Kemalova, Special Representative President of the Kyrgyz Republic of Mountain Agenda, and keynote speaker Dr. Pema Kimso, and highly valued panelist Professor Dr. Sivraj Adhikari, VC of NPC Nepal, His Excellency Syam Saran sir, and Alenka Simekolji, Secretary General of the Alpine Convention. I would like to thank you all on behalf of the organizing team, myself, and from Nepal government. I would like to again thank the country representatives from Jaul Haq from Bangladesh, Sonam Tasi from Bhutan, Ilikba Sharma, Static Advisor and Senior Fellow, Alaska Trust and Research in Ecology and Environment of India, and Ishaq Khan from Pakistan. Thank you all for your valuable inputs in this August gathering. With a concluding vote of thanks, I would like to share one note from the Everest. Just I would like to say the letter from the Sagarmatha to the all Sagarmatha Sambaad participants. Sagarmatha wrote a letter, dear all participants in the Sagarmatha, I am writing you a short letter. Actually, you are at existential threat, or something worse is happening. As I did earlier, I will not be able to provide you a existential services that I had provided to you from since unknown time. So be prepared for something worse. In the ancient time, I turned black. When the Kala Kuta poison was from sea, I absorbed that and I turned black. Now, this is the next time when I'm turning black. But the poison is from the land, not from the sea. In this existential threat, I'm not sure what will happen, but I can suggest to you something. So, what you can do is make better institutions at the regional level, make better networks at the regional level, make more productive transactions among the networks, and make common voices at the regional level, and go with those common voices to the global level, and try to understand the knowledge systems, innovation systems, transfer systems and some use systems of those things that the Himalayan communities have developed, preserved, and utilized since unknown time. So please do these things. And I would like to say I am from the capital of the Himalayas. So Hindu Kush Himalayas is my close family, and other Himalayan in the earth are my extended family members. This is message to all. And at the end, I would like to thank those who established ICIMOD, and you can make some more extended ICIMOD-like institutions in this region to make more alliances, more better institutions. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rajendra. So the last act for the session is to take some photos. So if we can ask the distinguished speakers to make their way back to the stage, and I will ask the photographer to do the organizing. Thank you. Sorry for rushing.
No. I know. I understand.
Sorry for rushing.
No. I know. I understand.